We firmly believe that blockchain and these protocols are going to be the future utilities for the entire world, right? I don't believe in 15 years, 20 years, any organization, company, government, small business, individual, none of us are going to keep our own books and records, right? This is going to all be on public blockchain. These L1s and L2s that are out today, they are becoming, to us, the utility ledgers for the entire world.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this triumphant Tuesday for what is going to be another jam-packed daily market update. And that was Franklin Templeton's head of innovation, Sandy Call, essentially predicting what she believes the role of distributed ledgers, public distributed ledgers, is going to be in the future. And I happen to but agree. This is part of essentially globalizing the world. If we can run on global distributed ledgers, essentially what this sets up is a one world operating system. Now I'm going to leave that there. I'm sure you guys will be very familiar with perhaps some negative connotations to a system such as that. Anyway, this is the direction the world is heading towards. Public distributed ledgers are the plan, in my opinion. Yes, we're getting pushbacks from the likes of Swift with their private ledger, but I think if you want a truly global world, it has to be on public distributed ledgers for the benefits, such as reach, that they essentially induce. Private networks, it's kind of like reintroducing the problem that we're trying to solve here. So I wanted to start with that. Where we're going to get straight to, and we've got a lot to cover in this one, is what Eric Balanchunas has to say about IBIT. IBIT, a hairline away from $100 billion, is now the most profitable ETF for BlackRock by a good amount, now based on current AUM. Check out the age of the rest of the 10. Absurd. And actually, if you look at IBIT, and this is ultimately why they offered an Ethereum ETF, it's ultimately why they're going to offer a not just Ethereum ETF, but other altcoin ETFs. BlackRock will offer more ETFs, whether that's iSol, XRP, whatever it may be. They are going to issue other ETFs for this reason exactly, because it's profitable for them to do so, and the customer demand is there. They're treading the water carefully. In the financial industry, there's a kind of saying. I was listening to Nadine Shakar, who is obviously over at DTCC, and she was saying, look, there's a kind of saying, certainly when she was at State Street, and that is there's no advantages to being first. You've just got to follow very quickly. So that's why you're kind of getting maybe some of the other smaller ETF offerers perhaps go first. BlackRock will follow quickly, mark my words on that. And we're yet to really see this asset class even be that. We're yet to see that utilization that Sandy Cole was talking about. This is the value proposition of being in the cryptocurrency space. This technology is unbelievably impactful. Wells Fargo back in 2022 said it was almost as impactful as electricity. Certainly on par with the internet in regards to what it's going to do for value. But if we look at this, you can see just how quickly this got to where it got to, what their annual revenue is, and how long it took. 1 year. The shortest after that is a core MSCI emerging markets ETF. It took 12 years and didn't even get to half of the revenue generated. The one below it is the Russell 1000. We've been looking at the Russell 2000 recently and saying it's going to break against the SPY, giving us this bullish backdrop. We're going to look at what Paul Tudor has to say about that in just a second, and how we own crypto and gold. You know, there's a change going on in regards to value right now that I think crypto benefits from as an alternative to the kind of financial system. Certainly Bitcoin is that. It isn't a currency in my opinion. Bitcoin, I think that narrative was totally hijacked with the small block, big block kind of war that waged. And there's merit, I think, for both sides of that argument. But I think in regards to Bitcoin being a practical currency, that's not the case. You've got less usage on Bitcoin as far as the currency is concerned today than you did perhaps 5 years ago, certainly in the early days, which is crazy, right? So this is really impressive. This is going to continue. Talking about the IWM, we have looked. One thing, obviously, we've spoken about the fact that we believe the S&P 500 is now in a bull market, having gone through a bear market earlier this year with the Trump tariffs. That's technically what a bear market is, a 20% pullback. Every time it's engulfed that, it's gone on higher. Great bullish backdrop for crypto, it would explain why Bitcoin dominance is going to roll, because you've got that macro backdrop that supports it. We've also spoken about the IWM and how we believe that this is going to gain against the S&P 500. And the context of that is the same as altcoins running against Bitcoin. It's got to be a generally bullish environment, which we very much expect. What I want to do now, we've got a couple of clips to play for you. This is the last one, is dive over to what Paul Tudor Jones said recently about what he wants to own. And the fact that he thinks that the environment's here for a really good run in assets. What that then leads to, we shall see. But I think there's something colossal going on. Let's listen to what Paul Tudor Jones said over the past 24 hours.
I'm suggesting that we're in a period that's conducive for massive price appreciation in a variety of assets. Will it happen or not? I don't know. If you kind of just look, if you just think about the leverage that we had in 1999, you look at margin debt, and then you look at today margin debt, but you have to throw in leverage ETFs because people don't use margin like they did back then. We're probably a little more elevated than we were in October of 99. So if you said to me, what are going to be the winners? Again, we have this race.
Right.
The race realistically is certainly to the end of the year because that's when everyone marks institutionally. And then you have to figure out what's going to go on in next year. So what would I want to have? I'd want to have a combination of gold, crypto, probably the NASDAQ.
And actually, we think that this rally could go on, as historically has been the case after a bear market, at least up until sort of August next year. And that's just taking the smallest time period after recovering a bear market that the markets have gone on and rallied for, looking at that through the lens of the S&P 500 going all the way back to the 1980s. Every time the S&P 500 has engulfed its bear market, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. It's such a cheat code to understanding where markets are going right now. Every time it's done that, it's gone on and rallied. And the smallest period is just shy of 400 days. That's going to take you into August next year, which throws out the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, doesn't it? If we do 400 days, talking about August next year. So we agree with Paul. I think there's a lot going on, but we're unbelievably bullish, certainly on crypto, which we think is going to be a real accelerant. I'm talking about things going on. I saw this over on Cointelegraph today as I was sort of scanning the news. StreamX shares saw 20% on gold-backed stablecoin pre-sale launch. StreamX shares surge over 20% as the firm announces a pre-sale for GLDY, a gold-backed stablecoin offering 4% yield and targeting institutional investors. Now, lots of pushback on tokenized gold, and I understand why. One of the properties of gold that is valuable and desirable is that you can custody it yourself. You can hold it yourself. You can be in charge of your own wealth. If you give that to a tokenization platform, well, they then have the custody. Similar to holding your gold in a vault. In certain jurisdictions, anyway, I should probably add as a caveat. I think tokenization of gold is a good thing. If you want to custody it yourself, you still have that option in the sense that it's essentially going to enable gold-backed currencies, if they're permitted. We have seen pushback around the world in regards to people trying to do that. In fact, we moved away from the gold standard with the Nixon shock. You're going to see gold being able to be tokenized and then used and utilized in DeFi, providing yield. You're going to see a rebirth of gold. And if you look at why gold, we moved away from a gold currency, it was due to the inconvenience of it, which is now eradicated with tokenization. So as much as I understand the argument of why people are against tokenized gold, actually crypto doesn't just completely unlock the financial systems and provide insane opportunities and efficiency benefits. It also does that with the likes of gold, store of values. And actually, this can essentially make gold a rival to Bitcoin in a big way. This could be why gold is going on the run. I think a contributor, I don't think tokenization is the main contributor. I think it's questions around the sort of current monetary regime, but it certainly could be something that sees gold do very well. And the argument again about, okay, well, you don't get to custody it yourself, you still have that option. Actually, gold as an asset benefits massively from crypto. I want to talk about something that no one's talking about, and that is BNB's rise to that third spot. It's overtaken XRP and Tether. And we've had a long-standing price prediction for BNB, We looked at this sort of what we would call phase one base. We think this is could be a cup and handle, could be an inverse head and shoulders that ultimately takes you to $2,674. I know a lot of you are on this. We do think it gets there, and it's absolutely storming towards it. Last little bit of kind of, I guess, news. This is from Eleanor Tourette. Scoop. Sen has stepped in to lead bipartisan discussions on the crypto market structure draft for Democrats on the Senate committee, taking over from ranking member Amy. According to several people familiar with the discussion, those talks are going on between Booker's staff and Chairman Boozman. The people said it remains unclear when a draft might be released. Booker, one of the senates from New Jersey, has long supported balanced crypto regulations and giving the CFTC greater authority over digital commodities. We have a lot of legislation that's still to pass for crypto to enable all of this. The market structure bill we are waiting on. Of course, the US government is shut down, and nobody's coping really well with that, to be quite honest. The markets aren't doing very well. People's lives seem to have stopped due to the government shutting down. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.